the way that the way we start our episodes is, we don't do like the hard opening, kind of not like a Ben Shapiro situation where he's like, and today we're talking about Biden's failing economy, plus AOC said something stupid on Twitter. We don't really start off like that, though we could. We used to try. Connor didn't like it though. Yeah. And so we decided that we're not going to do that. But thank you for coming on. People might wonder, who is Kelli Harris? What does she do? It's Kelli with an I, right?
Yes, it is. It is Kelli with an I.
Kelli with an I. So, tell us who you are. I know who you are, but tell us who you are.
Wow, that's a wide open start right there. Wide open.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity. And just me currently right now, I'm a wife and mother of 2. And it's funny, Jordan actually took pictures of our family, and I ran across those as an old, memory came up in my phone, and they were just so precious. So thank you so much. I cried, because they were all my baby kids when they were so sweet and precious. And
not so little anymore.
Not so little anymore. So my daughter is 16 now, and she
that's crazy.
Is doing amazing. I'm so proud of her. She's working at Chick-fil-A. She's getting ready to graduate early, so she's going to skip a grade, and she is a math whiz. So
That's
she
cool.
wants to get into engineering.
Ooh.
And then my son is 11, and he's at Grace Covenant Academy.
Yes.
And we love that
Very
school.
Cool.
Yes.
Here, lift that up again. It's just, I think you got to tighten it up a little bit, Steven. Yeah, see how it's not tight? Just tighten up with those big, strong muscles. Great. Okay. Now you've almost got it. Okay, great. Keep going.
And Nathan's thing is soccer. So he is a soccer star. He's actually at a game tonight. So he's playing at Stumpy Creek, and he plays for FC Atletico. We love FC Atletico. And then my husband is a hardworking guy who gets to work from home. He loves it.
Hardworking guy gets to work from home.
Yes.
We love it. So just kind of getting into this a little bit. So Kelli, why are you here? Because I know we have talked, because you're talking about the kids actually being all innocent and stuff. And I know that's kind of a big deal for you in a lot of ways, not just with your own kids, but other kids. And there's this little organization called Moms for Liberty.
Moms for Liberty. Yes. Well, let's talk about Moms for Liberty. We can get right into that. So yes, I got involved really in 2020 with masks. Okay, so I knew about 2 weeks in something was up, right?
Yeah.
For the first 2 weeks, I thought, oh yeah, I was making masks with the sewing machine and everything, and I thought,
and she's crafty.
I thought we were in a pandemic. Yes, borrowed a sewing machine, got going on that. But then 2 weeks in, I was like, this is nuts, and I just realized that something was up, and I started doing a ton of research, and then it was just really troubling that the kids were wearing them literally 2 years later. Like it took 2 years to get masks off kids in public school. So during that time I was doing protests, and we actually organized a lawsuit, and we served that lawsuit because we were just fed up. It was time. And, all that was going on. And somebody else actually opened up the Iredell Moms for Liberty chapter, which was Kelli Supek. And I was just going to meetings and checking it out. I don't like to join organizations quickly. I want to make sure I know what they're up to and what they're about. And I did love everything that I was learning, Judeo-Christian values, love of the Constitution, love of our founding fathers. And so I got involved, and then Kelli Supek needed to step down, and there was nobody else to step in. And so she came to me. I was the last resort. And because I had already been active, and it just kind of seemed like a natural fit, even though it was a huge commitment, run an organization, be a leader, it was a lot, but I stepped in, and I'm still here.
Hey, yeah. No, this is actually, I feel like when Steven and I talk, this is a subject we discuss a lot. We discuss typically race stuff we discuss quite often. We definitely talk about like sexualization of kids. That's another one that's on our list. And I think we kind of see stuff on social media, like typically like we'll run into a clip and be like, oh my gosh, what the heck is this? But when it comes to the school system, there is, I feel like the veil is kind of being taken away. And I think a lot of it is thanks to, Moms for Liberty, and also, parents just going to these school board meetings as well. But I think there is still this idea that it's not really happening, and that, well, let me actually back up. I feel like, this is my opinion, I feel like a lot of people that are really associated with this movement are more, can be more Republican or conservative in nature. I think moderates and independents are getting along with this idea of, not sexualizing the kids because they have common sense. But I think it kind of comes into the realm of conspiracy theory. I think that's the newest thing that they're trying to put onto Republicans or conservatives in a very broad sense. And so they're like, well, it's not really happening. Okay, sure, like you might have found this one book, but that doesn't mean that the specific applies to the general, right? That doesn't mean that the entire United States is, filling, porn in schools. And so I kind of like to play a little bit of devil's advocate because
I think because I can tell you the story.
Yeah,
I can tell you the story because I didn't believe this stuff was going on either. So, I started looking at things on, YouTube and videos and whatnot. And I saw these horrible books being read at school board meetings. And I thought, what the heck? So, Moms for Liberty had a ton of resources coming out. So actually booklook.info comes from, the Ground Zero out of Brevard County. And that's how you can look up books in your school system and check and see if they're there. So I just did a couple of searches, and sure enough, there were some in our local school district. And so I just thought, I'll let the superintendent and the board know about this, see what they say, And I just kind of got things going in a real, nonchalant kind of way. Just, I didn't know there were processes and procedures, and it turns out they didn't either because nobody was doing this. So it was all just like a search and find mission. And then it is just so different school to school. You have some schools with the really, really bad books in them, but then, you have some that have a lot less, but nearly every public school definitely has some that are 100% inappropriate. Like you got to go get these books out of there.
All right. So quick question. First off, though, I'm kind of upset I didn't get an intro being my first time.
Good point.
So, geez, I feel like I left out there.
Okay. All right. We'll talk about this on the way home.
Exactly. Though for me, hitting off of what Jordan said too, you could see a clip or something of a teacher who is obviously trying to push certain agendas on their classroom. And you do typically think, I know myself, coming from not as involved in politics and current events, I get a lot of my information from Jordan, and we just discuss kind of what's going on. I don't personally keep as involved in the things, but I still will give my opinion in them. But in the states that are more blue, that's where you think this stuff's happening, like you mentioned. But it is crazy to find out that it's in every state. States that are red. And my question is, though, who selects the books? Is it the school board, or who is the one that clears these books to go into the libraries for the schools?
So funny. I brought 3 bags up here, but that chart is in my car.
Oh, no.
But I can kind of tell you there are. So do you guys know about the ALA new president happens to be a self,
Well, tell us a little bit about that.
So that could be a good start.
Yeah, because that's something that actually, because we talk about all the porn in the libraries, but actually that's a great question about talking about where exactly is this coming from. So you can treat us like we're 8 years old. We don't understand this, and tell us about this.
I actually don't understand it.
Yeah. So, well, it's funny. I really wish that I could just speak to you with the encyclopedia of knowledge that there really is on this, because this does all stem from an ideology, and it is a gender, queer kind of an ideology, right? Like a queer theory. So there are people who believe that you should sexualize children from the time they're infants, basically. And I've done a little bit of research, and I wish I could just speak so much more intelligently on it. But the key names that I know are a Kenzie and a Money. So Money is responsible for the first time that they were studying. It was a botched circumcision that they ended up saying, well, let's raise that boy as a girl. Okay. So that went horribly wrong. And, so there's that story there. And then this other guy, Kenzie, he basically was molesting children and charting how often he did that with babies and young people. So that's where this stuff comes from. And you actually have people who think that they are, what would you call them? Intellectuals or I don't know what these Ivy League people think that they are, but think that this is okay. And so they want to desensitize kids from, the feeling that would be a wrong thing to do or a thing to wait to do. And that is where we need to step in and protect the innocence of children, because it is not appropriate to sexualize children. So we gotta help.
Without your book of resources, do you know the selection specifically for books in schools? Is it state-based or is it federal-based? So, for example, could there be different selections for North Carolina versus another state, South Carolina, Florida, California, so on?
Yeah. So what I have definitely heard is that states aren't typically funding the libraries very well. So you get a lot of just donations coming in from organizations. So you can think of organizations like GLSEN or GLAAD. Scholastic books have skewed quite left lately. So if you look at what they're bringing,
yeah, because I used to read quite a few of those.
Yeah.
As a kid. Can I actually take you back? You said something about the ALA?
ALA, yes.
Okay. I actually kind of want to know a little bit about that, because you were talking about where the books are coming from, and you were kind of talking about, I guess, like the leaning of this person.
Yes. So self-proclaimed Marxist, and there's actually some undercover reporting that's pretty good. So somebody went to this, socialist meeting, and they call each other comrades still. It's quite interesting. So someone is undercover, got that on recording. I actually have that posted on the page. And she gets up and talks about how, she's so happy to be in charge and ready to promote her, socialist ideas through the libraries. But thankfully she has done that. And now many states are backing out of the ALA. South Carolina just announced that they are. I think we might be up to like 7 or 8 states that are now not allowing any more funding to go to ALA.
And what's her name?
Emily, I think Drabinski.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Emily Drabinski. Okay. Yeah, I was just curious about that. And it's interesting what you're saying too, is that you actually have a lot of states that are backing out, because I felt like there was a point in the media where I almost think that the left feels brazen and they should stop being brazen, where there was a point where we would just kind of let this stuff happen. And so you have someone like Emily, I already forgot her last name, but you have someone like Emily that's like, oh, I'm so excited to do this thing.
It's true.
And it's the same thing with, we were listening to an episode about the Paw Patrol, their offshoot of, but their non-binary character, however that works.
The queer Mr. Rogers. I know exactly what you're talking about. Matt Walsh did.
No, and that was a good episode where they're just being so brazen about it. And then turns out there are consequences for them being so brazen. I have to think it is because of Moms for Liberty, but I also think too, it has to just be like people acting on their own independently and being like, wait, no, this is kind of messed
100%.
up.
So if you don't mind me digging into that, okay. So I can share that we have another amazing North Carolina organization called the Pavement Education Project, and they were one of the first resources that I started using. They have a book report process as well. So community members are reading these books, kind of gathering up all the cuss words and the nasty scenes, putting them all in a little book report so that parents, educators, people can look it up, kind of get a grasp of what's going on in that book quickly, and then kind of make a decision if they want it to be in their library. And that's all we need to do. Guys, this is not difficult. This is not book banning, okay? This is curating a library for educational purposes. That is what education is supposed to be. So this is not what they're making it. It's not what they're printing in the newspaper. It's not what they're saying in mainstream media. I mean, I really need people to just get the common sense back on.
Sure. This is gonna sound a little bit counterintuitive to what you just said, because I was actually I've been thinking about this for a few months where I'm like, well, it is kind of like, well, you are kind of banning the book, but is that wrong? Like I was like, there's technically to a certain sense what you said about education, we're creating a parameter for the library.
A guardrail. I like to say guardrail.
Yeah, a guardrail. And so to a certain extent, like there has to be exclusion of books, because would we put we have there's a parameter for a bookstore, right? Yes, they have the fantasy and adult models with novels with all the sex scenes and stuff, and like we have an understanding while we don't agree with it, that, okay, this is a bookstore. There's also on one side is the fantasy novels. On the other side is the Bible Christian living books at the same time. So there's a parameter for that. And dare I say, it's pretty wide. Then we come to kids. It's like, okay, well, now that has to be taken down to like this.
Right.
Because they're kids. I'll go ahead and maybe try to play devil's advocate again. I try because I know we're resident skeptics, so I want to do the best I can to give the other side of like, well, okay, we have people in our society that are of different sexualities, and this is the world we live in. Why is it so wrong to, make them aware that there's these types of people out there? Couldn't that be included in education? Like we have, a gay history, there's a line of that. Like why can't we have that in schools?
Well, Jordan, I think that's a fantastic question.
Just pretend I have blue hair right now.
I love it. And so what we're really zoning in on here and what needs to become the community conversation is what is age appropriate, right? Mm-hmm. And so parents and educators need to have a conversation and decide what that is, because we want to just empower parents to be partners in the education process. We believe in parental rights, but by all means, 100%, we understand that there are different sexualities and there are going to be different levels and times that we need to introduce that to kids. And so that just needs to be a conversation, and there can be places and spaces in the library where that's agreed upon, that either there's a parent permission slip or there's, a way to communicate that these books are available at this age. So we're not saying, no, never, nothing, right? It's just we need to have a conversation about this and choose and make sure that, it's a community agreement.
Yeah, and just adding to that, I know a lot of the discourse that you see is, it's just you're homophobic or transphobic, that's why you don't want these books. But the moment you talk about homosexuality or transsexual, you're bringing in sexuality to the conversation, because a lot of these kids won't understand what that is. So what is being gay? What does that mean? And so now you have to explain the situation. Whereas if that was off the table, right, they would just be raised normal, grow up, and that conversation, that thought wouldn't even enter their mind. And I think that's where, for me personally, that I get in, where it's like, I don't want the sexualization, even if it's heterosexual. I don't want clips of things I've seen and examples of books that I've seen in libraries. I wouldn't want that for a kid. I don't have any kids right now, but I like to think, as a potential future parent, I wouldn't want my kids exposed to that. I personally believe that should be more fundamentally taught by the families when it comes to the birds and the bees.
Absolutely.
And everything.
We agree with you. And we just really want to mention that we are definitely not seeing that there's like more that are homosexual. We are talking about just as many heterosexual books that are, filthy. So we really look at pervasively vulgar is the word that's in the statute. So I'm glad that I'm speaking that, because we're not just like, oh, this is how we feel. Okay. There's laws in place, which it's fun to remind people of. And then it's a cool thing too, that we're a constitutional republic. So we actually elect people into positions of power, and then we have discussions and we make decisions based on votes. Right. So that all comes into play in the public school system. So we were talking about policies, these policies they didn't know. Well, we're all getting to know the policies right now. And so now we're doing book committees, and then, fun things are happening. Like people are trying to pack the book committees with all the, emailing all their friends, like, get on the book committee. So we can make sure that Moms for Liberty goes down, So now it's like a political fight, and they just want to win. And they're not even taking into account the fact that really, do you really think that's okay for a child to read?
Is this the hill you really want to die on?
It's kind of funny because I want to get into a space, and I'm working towards this. I want to get these people, I want to hear them defend themselves with what I'm reading. Well, I can't wait to hear what they say.
Well, and that's what I was saying. It feels like the biggest defense is the homophobia and transphobia. That's what I hear the most from, say, the left-leaning side, is that, oh, you're just transphobic, that's why you're banning books. They don't ever mention about just in general, they don't care about the heterosexual books being banned, from what I know and from what I've been exposed to. Mm-hmm. So that's why I brought that up, is it seems that as soon as you try to ban or limit access to something that involves heterosexuality, that's when they start clamoring on.
Right. Did you guys hear the Senate hearing, like up in Washington, D.C., that this actually made it to the White House? Like,
no.
not the White House, I'm sorry, excuse me, but like congressional, they had like a Senate hearing. Okay. And one of the, it's Kennedy is his last name. I can't think of his first name, but he's quite a guy. And he read 2 of the filthiest books out there.
And he's like an old guy.
He's an old guy, right? He's an old guy.
Well,
and we're in a book committee. Oh, because I didn't finish this. I mentioned Pavement Education Project, but I also wanted to mention that there are other Mama Bear organizations. There are just citizens. There are church members. There are just people getting involved in this. This is not only a Moms for Liberty issue. It's really like when people really get exposed to the truth of what this is, they're like, oh my gosh, this is wrong. We've got to do something about this. But, all that to say, this is becoming a national conversation and you can't hide it anymore. I mean, I'm so thankful for the brave people that read these words at the, board meetings, because I can't. I'm very uncomfortable. I can describe what it is, but I don't like to say the curse words. Like I just don't do that.
It doesn't.
I don't like to read them either. I'm like, it's full of it.
So, it's funny because I was actually going to have you bring some of it up. And if you are not comfortable reading
Steven can read them.
Yeah, he'll read out. Because this is the thing. Because this is why, like, I understand you're uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable when I hear it, to be perfectly honest. But I think with what Steven said, it's this idea that you just don't want to even talk about homosexuality or talk about heterosexuality. But these books are so much more than just talking about homosexuality or heterosexuality. Like, these are graphic scenes that really no one wants to hear. Like, that's why they try to shut these people up at board meetings, because it's too graphic for adults. And so I want to say some of these things, and we'll put an explicit warning on this episode. But I want people to understand that this stuff is prevalent in schools at different levels. See, Stephen, it's not good. But
yeah, that's pretty.
Is this the title of the book?
Yes.
Can you, and before Stephen gets to it, can you just tell us? See, now my mic is falling.
I do have the actual book. I was having trouble finding it, but I have them all. I had this at the fair. This was at the Iredell Fair, so people could see that this is a real book.
Wow.
And I'm so thankful that you're exposing this in a different way, because this passed committee, guys. So this went through our new policy that people are reviewing.
Can I see it? Okay.
So like what age groups?
Yeah, let's.
Okay, that one is found in definitely high schools. Let me see if I have any in middle schools here. So this is high schools.
Yeah, what is this one that I'm looking at?
Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl.
Yeah, I've got some quotes from here.
Okay. Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl. Okay. Hey, I'm just looking at this. Okay. So me and Earl. My name is Greg. I am the one who wrote this book. My physical appearance is unsatisfactory. There's probably a fungus eating my brain. I'm not sure if I'm human. And what age is this for again?
Well, it's in high schools, so
It's in high schools?
a freshman
Okay.
could get it. That's how many cuss words are in it. They count them out for you.
How many are in there, Stephen?
Steven, you hit it.
For cuss words,
Yeah.
that's math, but there's for the B word not really a cuss word, but cocksucker is 1. F word is 53. MFer is 7. Piss is 2, which I don't view that necessarily as a cuss word. And then the S word is 53.
53. Okay. Yeah. So overall, you've got over 100, not clean words in there.
Why didn't it count that one?
Yeah, I don't know.
So we'll count while you're reading those, because we're ready for you to read
I'm
that.
not going to
now.
read this whole thing. I'll read maybe a section here.
We do story hour with Jordan, but this is a horrible story hour with
not for
Steven.
children.
Yeah.
Already what I'm reading. And this is not acceptable too, because if you said freshman, and that can be maybe as young as 13, but definitely 14 onward. And they're still, that's when they're just coming out of puberty, or maybe even still going through it, depending on the development of the kid. So again, I think these sexualized conversations should be with the parents themselves. As far as the cuss words go, that can be indicative of the language itself, though, for the time, because that can make a little bit more sense, I guess. And I know kids themselves cuss all the time, so they're exposed to these. They're already going to be desensitized to this type of language. But here we go. Okay, for starting on, I guess it's from page 32, for me and Earl and the dying girl. Greg's inexplicable boner is in full retreat. Let's see. Okay, then going to page 59. Are you going to eat her pussy? Yeah, Earl, I'm going to eat her pussy. Yeah. Do you even know how to eat pussy? Not really. Papa Gaines never set you down, said, son, one day you're going to have to eat the pussy? No, but he did teach me how to eat a butthole. God bless that man. And it kind of continues.
Yeah, you don't have to read the whole page. That's the thing, is that, you know, you have a book like this, you have language like this, and then you add in that the different swearing, and by the way, like the F word, like that can be used in a very obviously like sexualized way. We don't know how those words are being used, and also education should also be, you know, wholesome for the most part, unless, you know, we're talking about obviously different points of history or something went wrong, you know, something along those lines. But it's not anything that, one, I don't even understand this conversation either. Like, I don't know of what perverted grandfather would talk about
I feel like
anything like that.
Reading lyrics to like a Cardi B song or Nicki Minaj song,
Yeah.
or something like that. That's mainstream now.
It's awful.
Yeah.
What we've let culture
And
degrade.
do you have some more here for us?
Well, this one's under review right now, and I can tell.
I'll read this one.
Okay, I can tell a little story.
Yep.
This would be in a middle school.
All right.
And this one was voted to only be for 18 and above in Catawba County. So this one has
Okay.
recently gone through a board process and was actually voted to only be 18 and above.
Okay, so, yeah, so Monday's not coming. Okay, so it has less profanity than the other one, so yay. So there's page 130. Yeah, it's not fun to read.
No, it's not.
So page 133, get off her. I screamed, tackling his back like a monkey, hitting his head with my balled up fists, but none of the blows strong enough to crack through his thick skull. I dug my freshly painted nails deep in his neck and scratched. Don't you touch her, she screamed, and kicked him in the nuts. He cried out, falling to the floor before she swung her leg back and kicked him again. She kicked and kicked, each kick to the gut more powerful than the last. Light bounced off the sweat on her brows as she straddled him. She slammed against his head, and I caught the unfamiliar glimpse of rage in her eyes. Jacob's grunts turned into whimpers and full-out cries as he spat blood. A teacher finally broke throughout the crowd, and just as we were a package deal in the ass-whooping, we were a package deal being dragged to the principal's office, kicking and screaming. Is this what describing what I think it's describing?
That was a fight. So in all honesty, I'm gonna show you all how moderate I am. That didn't bother me. That was a fight. Kids are fighting.
Okay, because that's what I was
thinking. It's the sexualization that we don't like. So there's a lot of this character giving sexual favors and things for getting homework done or whatnot. So that would be what would be inappropriate to me. And there's lots of it.
So it's interesting. So there's this one that says they started kissing and swaying slow. I felt silly standing there watching them, but I didn't know where else to go. The girls were back on the sofa with the boys, kissing. I mean, really kissing. Tongues in each other's mouths, hands up shirts, touching their mother's bras. And so also on a very separate note, I feel like this is very immature to write where she puts really in caps. It's like, one, this never happens. And like, you don't know how to describe anything. You don't put it in caps. That doesn't make sense. I know it sounds kind of silly to point out, but whatever. And one is like, didn't he care some guy was rubbing my booty, breathing all hard in my ear?
Oh, you're not even getting to the worst part.
Damn,
we need to help her.
I didn't know you could do it like this. The guy whispered over my shoulder, and my entire body hiccuped before I wiggled out of his grip.
What I'm seeing too is, like, not only are these books sexualized, especially the one I read very vividly, they're depicting scenes of kids, minors, teenagers. So when you are a teenager yourself, or even younger, reading this, you can kind of put yourself in that position, and then it almost makes it out to be okay, versus if you were reading, something that's depicting an adult scene of, two consensual adults and whatnot. But that makes it even worse, that it's about the kids. And I don't know, it's weird that an author would even want to write about that. In my mind, that's just a little
totally
strange
agree.
I want to write about a kid scene, unless you can really have a great message with your book overall, and you need like a horrific scene to kind of depict the depravity, and then the message gets tied in at the end. But I'm not sensing that from these books. So that's just weird that you would even want to write about that, about kids doing these things, or having these conversations.
If you look inside the inside flap of the book, it almost seems like, well, no, maybe I just got it wrong, but I thought it was like maybe someone talking about their own life.
It is the first one under the me.
Yeah, but I'm looking at the back flap with Jesse Andrews. I actually don't know. I don't know. It was not until college that he even made out with a girl for more than 5 minutes. Like, it's just, why would you put that in a...
That's about the actual author?
Yeah, like, I don't know why you would put that in there. It's really strange. But also one of the things I've noticed with some of the books, and like even talking about Paw Patrol, like this person, I've heard her name and I just don't remember, is that it's like they're trying to put their own experience and confusion onto children. Like that's where I feel like these books come in. And to a certain extent, I'm not going to say I'm not blaming parents or anything like that, but I might say this and it might come out wrong, but it's almost like I feel like there's a point with our society where we kind of almost went neutral on values, where it's like no Bibles in the school, let's take that away. Our society became more secularized. And so you have these people that are so passionate about pushing their values. And I was like, what's happened to our parents, where it's like, I'm glad they're waking up and being like, no, we need to have these values too. Because we do have, and I'm getting into a little bit of a different territory here, because I want to find like, why is this happening? Where you have parents that they've walked away from the church or walked away from religion as a whole, and their values just kind of went like this. And so they're like, oh, well, the left, like, let's push this on. Like, they're almost... You got to give it credit. They're passionate. All right. They're passionate. You talked about the organizations that donate the books, like GLAAD. It's like, yeah, they're really working on their agenda. It's like, you kind of have to ask yourself, we need to be working twice as hard.
100%. Yes.
And that's how I feel, where it's like, that's why I'm glad you have these different organizations. But on the same note, if all parents as individuals and as their own families said, no, we're done, like, I think we would have an easier time. But like I said, I'm not trying to hate on parents all the way, but I am pointing out that someone let them do this. And to a certain extent, it was kind of because we were too busy doing other things. I don't know. I have to get your thoughts on that, because I'm coming hard a little bit on the parents, being like, we're working our 2 jobs. We got our cars. Okay. We're going to rush to get through your homework because we're tired and we don't have time or the energy to look over anything that you're actually doing. We're just going to, hope that the school is so that we can have this nice house and have the latest model car and look good in the community. And so people on the left took their shot, and to be honest with you, they're pretty successful, much to my dismay. What are your thoughts on that? And you're allowed to completely disagree with everything that I've said.
No, so I agree with you 100%. And when I started with Moms for Liberty, I knew these things were going on. I knew there was things that I didn't like within the school system. That's why my kids were in private Christian school, But once I started seeing all this, and I realized, wow, well, what really made me see all this was when I was watching the riots, and I saw 20-year-old people throwing, feces and water bottles that were frozen at police officers.
And you're talking about the Summer of Love 2020.
Summer of Love. Yeah. So those BLM riots. Yeah.
Right.
So
okay.
When I saw that, I thought, we are losing our country. Our youth have gone mad. Like, it's worse than I thought. Like, this is it. Like, if I don't start doing something now, it's over, So I just realized, well, I had to pick one issue, and then Moms for Liberty was coming up and in my area. So I decided it would be education. So I am learning everything. So I read all the time. And I read The Battle for the American Mind by Pete Hegseth. That was one of my first reads. And so, hi guys, this is all a total, coordinated takeover of the public school system. This is a Marxist agenda. It came from the Frankfurt School. Okay. This is not like an accident at all. Okay. That's why we have the ALA Marxist, director, now a president or whatever. She's saying what she's saying. So to sexualize your kids and to break down the family, just like what BLM wanted to do, is exactly what they want to do. They want to destroy America. They hate freedom. They hate family. They hate God. Right. So we are in the fight of our lives, and we do need parents to wake up, because we do, I think, as Americans, serve the almighty dollar. And we love our comforts, and, there can be, a danger to prosperity. Right. And we've been a very prosperous nation, but you can't lose your values. You can't forget what got you where you are. And that's why I love Moms for Liberty has taken me back to learning more about the Constitution, the founders, the minds that put this all onto paper and then fought and gave up their, what is it? Freedom. What is it? What I should see. I had it in my head. They sacrificed their lives, sacred honor, and it's one more thing that
it's okay.
We
got the idea. We got the idea.
But so all of that, I agree with you. Parents need to get involved. Now, I think these books got in there because of depravity and because this is people's life, and it's pretty sad. And I'm so sorry that this is all they've got.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But we weren't watching. And so I give everybody a free pass that we let them in. But now that we know that they're there, now it's time to do something about them. You can't pretend they're not there. And I love the people that won't even read the books. That's great. That's great. Don't book ban. They won't read the book. So, and then they say that we don't read the books, right? But it's like, I mean, how much of this do I need to see before I realize that it's full of garbage?
One little page I read.
That's enough.
That's enough. Just like, if you put a little poop in the brownies, I mean, they're ruined. Like, don't eat them.
No, that's exactly right. I think what bothers me the most, I said I wasn't going to hate on parents, but I'm going to hate just a little bit. And it makes me, I shouldn't, because I'm single, and I shouldn't hate on them too much. But, I have conversations like with my young adult friends, about what parenting looks like. Like, we just watch, and no, we're not parents, but we have instincts. Like, we know like what looks good and what doesn't. We talk about prosperity almost brings kind of this laziness. And so, we look at the kids on the iPads, when they're 2 years old, and we just kind of go, I don't want my kid to, I was like, that's not good. Like, and I get a little upset with parents like, you can't judge me unless you're a parent. And it's like, well, I don't need to steal to know that stealing is wrong or that you're doing something questionable. Like, don't play this game with me, where the experience game that the left plays. Well, if you haven't experienced this, and if you're not a woman, then you can't say anything about abortion. Don't play this game with me. Can we just be honest and be like, listen, there are some parents in America, not all, some parents in America that have either gotten lazy or they've made poor choices in their life where they have to hand their kids over to the school system. Like, let's just be honest about that. And so all that to say, on a very roundabout way, that I think there's a potential, this gets into another conversation that I'm hearing, that we're going to see a new generation of parents. Some that are like, because I'm seeing a lot of parents that are like, no technology. Like, we've watched what this has done to our youth. We got the OnlyFans, TikTok, like these famous influencers. Like, we do not want our kids near this garbage. So I feel like we're getting to that spot. But what I can tell you now with what technology is doing and what parents are allowing is that I'm not. On one hand, I'm not impressed. On the other hand, I am, because I see parents like you, and like, you kind of see both sides. Like, there's despair and hope at the same time. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's like, wow, I feel really good. And then I walk around the mall and I'm like, humanity is dead. I know.
And I do the same thing.
It's really discouraging and encouraging at the same time. I'm always just conflicted by what I see.
This
This
is the battle, right? So we are in the battle, and so there are good things, like there's Screen Strong that actually came out of North Carolina too, and that is a group of people that commit to like almost completely eliminating screens in their house. So you can join that community, you can kind of share it. Now I know it's funny, like that they do chat on Facebook, like you get your phone for a little bit, right? But it's like, you know, it's great. And they have educational things, because this is science. Like we know that it's damaging the brain. We know that kids aren't socializing, we know that kids are just totally like, they're not getting the development that they need if they're on the screen all day. So I agree with you 100%. We're just, we were given something that's more addictive than crack, right? It just affects you in a different way. And now we're all as a society figuring out how to try to, backpedal from this, and it's very, very hard. It's hard for me. I am very addicted to my phone. I love it.
I don't think you can go back from what like a mini computer in your pocket has given you. It's amazing. We can do it. Yeah, I don't know. Me and Jordan's actually had those conversations before where I was like, I remember as a kid, like say I went to the doctor's office or something, and like, oh, you have to wait, and literally all we did was wait. There was nothing. I mean, maybe you could go look at the magazine stack or whatever that they had.
I mean, that's what I did.
I know, but boredom doesn't even exist
now,
anymore.
As an adult, I'm thinking like, I don't know if I could do that. I would be freaking out if I was just sitting there. It's like, I know it's going to be 30 minutes or an hour, and I just have to be confined to this chair with nothing to stimulate my mind. And that's when I guess you could bring your own book and everything. But literally, it was just you had to sit there and quiet your mind, so to speak.
Well, if you don't mind, I had a great conversation with somebody that was just kind of talking about like meditation. Like we actually need to make it a practice to just bring quiet and stillness and boredom back into, and maybe we could even do this at school, like just get kids sitting in a room quiet, Indian style, and just who can stay quiet the longest. Like we literally have to retrain brains to not be just firing like this all the time. I think that's something we could all think about.
Yeah, no, we do have a society that's constantly stimulated, which I think is an issue. I mean, it's just with our kids. And again, what's happening is that parents are modeling that for their children because, well, I need to be on my phone. So you go ahead and let's put you in front of a screen or give you this iPad, and then you'll be entertained. And I think it kind of, Stephen kind of actually inadvertently touched on this when he talked about the swear words, where he's like, oh, these kids are being exposed to this every day. It's true, unfortunately. I don't want it in the books, but it's true. Like they are getting exposed to this constantly. And then you give them no limitations on a device, or you give them some limitations, but kids find a way around them.
Yeah, it's really everywhere.
Yeah, and it's gonna come for you. And so what we've also done is we've put them on screens more. They don't really know how to play outside and build something for themselves. Like that's what I did. That's what Stephen did. I know you definitely did. That's what you did as kids. You were going to say something, Stephen?
I was going to just say that about the exposure to the cuss words, that's not even in reference to like the technology and the different social media outlets that they're exposed to. I'm just saying in general, from peer to peer, like in school, that's how people talk. I mean, I was a teacher actually for a little bit at high school, and I taught a business class. So I had freshmen up to seniors, but even just going from walking the halls and when the students are out, like you just hear it nonstop. So not even from exposure to from social media and technology, they're just exposed to that type of language consistently, unless most likely they're in like a private school or something. Which also, when you mentioned that, I don't know why, but it resonated with me where you think like, are there like non-Christian private schools? Because most of the time you hear private Christian schools, and I just find it interesting that you have those Christian values most of the time when it comes to private schools. Because you want to just have like we're just a private school because we have Christian values, but we're not Christian. Like, I'm sure that may exist somewhere, right?
I think it does. I think it does. And I don't know all of them, and I don't know if you would consider like there's like Montessori is a type of schooling. Like I believe it's called Davidson Day is a big private school that's in Davidson. So there are private schools that are not necessarily Christian. So
yeah, no, I do see it though, like with more religious communities, like you have like Grace Covenant Academy. I'm going to assume that's private in nature.
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's more, I'm actually trying to figure out what the difference between public and private school is. 'Cause I know public school is funded by
State
funded
and federal
by the state.
funds.
And then private is not. Is that the only
Correct.
difference? Is it just funded by parents or?
Donations.
Yep.
parents'
Parents donations.
enrollment.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to follow all the regulations that the state might have on you. So
Yeah. Which gives
this is a great turn into school choice. I love
Yeah.
this because we all are about school choice. And I will just share that there's a North Carolina law that's going to be tied onto that budget that is going to give opportunity scholarships for, many, many more parents so that they can take their taxpayer dollar and go to the school of their choice.
Yeah, that's important. I mean, because with private school, like, even if it's not a Christian private school, there is kind of this idea with private school that there's more tightness, like more parameters around things.
Sure.
Now, I was homeschooled my entire life.
And you turned out amazing. I just want to say that.
Thank you. I mean, I did end up going to community college at 15. People thought I was a genius because I was there at 15. It wasn't that hard. And that's what's sad though. Okay. I'm just putting it out there. It's like, it was my sophomore year of high school. I think I read a book a week. I did like 2 to 3 papers a week. I had to rewrite the Constitution. We had to do an entire memorization. We did Latin, just rigorous stuff. Now, I have actually some things against that too, but that's another story.
We'll talk about that another time.
Yeah, we'll talk about that another time. And then I make it to community college and it's like, it's like 2 papers per semester. I was like, this is awesome. I was like, this is pretty great. I don't have to like work too much. But it was sad that like not the public school system, but even community college, you could see the results from these students. It's like they were making C's in these classes and they were failing these tests. I'm like, how do you fail a multiple choice test? This is incredible. I've never had like a multiple choice test. This is fantastic.
Right. Yeah. So no, this is the dumbing down of America. This is a very big deal. This is not okay.
But now you have AI that can literally write you anywhere from a C+ to an A graded paper with just inputting a sentence or a paragraph as a prompt for it to do that. But definitely get off on a tangent when we're getting into education. But yeah, I mean, as a teacher, that was one thing I saw was the initiatives of even like the No Child Left Behind, especially when you get into the high school level where kids are about to enter into adulthood, into the real world, whether it's off in college or into the working force. And they're still not learning consequences of their actions where, you can't give a kid a 0 if they just refuse to do an assignment. Not even in that they participated and just didn't know it. They just refused outright to do, which happens all the time. And then there's really no consequence for that. Because then if, later in the semester they want to make everything up, then you just have to mark those grades as something that can average out to a passing grade. And they don't really develop that consequence mentality of, if I don't do stuff, there are actual negative effects for this. And they've learned that. And so they can literally get away with just about anything and then get just passed on.
Well, I'm really glad that you're a former teacher because I want to really debunk the myth that we hate public school and we hate teachers or I don't know. Somebody actually put in the paper. I'm sorry. I'm going to give reference to this this paper article, this IFN News, Iredell Free News wrote a paper. And in that article, it says that the teachers are quitting because of Moms for Liberty. And I will tell you right now, that is not true. I know the 3 reasons they're quitting.
Can't be because of the pay, is it?
Pay, behavior of students, and then not being supported by administration. Okay. And I want to ask you, to me, the no-brainer to me is how many kids are in the classroom? How can you expect one teacher to handle the 20, the 25, the sometimes 30 kids, right?
In one of my periods, I can't remember, it was like 30, 32.
Okay, see, we're getting it right here. It's the truth, right? Yep. From somebody who experienced it.
So you literally, it's almost like a battle in making your lesson plans of how can I just, you literally have to think, how do I entertain these kids versus how do I actually teach these kids?
Right. Maybe you give them cuss words, lots of books with cuss words.
You're going to have those that are just going to say no to anything or everything you do for the day. And,
Well, can I just get into this because I'm feeling it? Okay.
Do it.
So my whole thing with Moms for Liberty was to get parents back in the classroom, right? And honestly, if they could just do 1 hour a week, it would change the world, right? So we actually were successful in getting, and this was really a drive by Mike Kubinick, one of the new board members, Constitution Day, we had over 40 volunteers go into the classrooms in Iredell, Statesville schools all around. They just shared something about the Constitution or freedom and, got into the classroom. So we want to help these teachers. Like, they need us. We know there's a teacher shortage. We know there's too many kids in the classroom. So parents, you're going to need to help. Like, those are your kids. So partnering with education is showing up to the classroom. And so I really do hope, and I know, with inflation causing everybody to feel like they have to work and, pay the bills, like this is a tough time right now.
We are 13 side jobs to afford a home.
We're in a crisis. Like, we're getting hit on every side. So we really have to just, we have to hunker down. We have to find out what's, important, prioritize. But we got to get back to the basics. We've got to get back to focusing on education and loving our kids and, getting them off the screens, getting them outside. This is a good conversation.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, what you're asking for it's a culture shift is what you're asking for.
100%.
It's not just, and not to be a Debbie Downer here. Well, maybe I'll be Debbie Downer, but I feel like, it's like, okay, we need moms and dads in classrooms. It's like, yes, 100%. We're all on board. It should be about education. Yes, 100% on board. And I feel like with every single episode that we have had, whether it's been about sex trafficking or affirmative action, or now we're here at education, it always comes back down to fixing the nuclear family and bringing those values back. There is great use in what you guys are doing. And I think that you can use even just having a parent, say you have a parent that goes in and says, oh, okay, fine, I'll do it. And I'll go in for an hour. And they realize, whoa, this is awesome. Like, why am I not more involved in my children? And that can lead back towards that idea of bringing back the nuclear family. But my thing has always been, I'm like, man, you wonder, okay, we talk about race issues, you talk about the Black community. It's like, there's a culture issue there. There's an issue where there's only one parent. Typically, I feel like it's like a single mom or a dad that's just really not there. That is also catching up with white families as well. So we're not far behind. It shows us it's not a full-on race issue, that this is a culture problem. And if we don't bring back the nuclear family, and if we don't bring back a sense of community around morals and values, which my suggestion would be Christian values, Judeo-Christian values. But if we don't bring that back, we're going to see these people being like, oh, I'll be the parent to your child. We'll read them these books. You let us take care of your kids.
Oh, that's what they want.
No, it's exactly what they want.
Oh, yeah.
And also, I kind of want to ask you a question, end our episode asking you this question, because our audience, as far as I know, like, there are a lot of singles. We don't have kids, right? Why should we care about this? What's the point from your perspective? Because you're like, moms, parents get involved. How should singles get involved?
Oh my gosh, the singles should be volunteering. The singles should be mentoring programs like, Truth Girls, Turning Point USA. Like, you guys are awesome, and you even touch a little bit closer to young people because they don't have kids either, right?
Right. Yeah.
So they're not, all busy with doing family and whatnot. But, no, they're the future. They are the future leaders or the future bum on the street. Like, what are they going to be? We've got to care about all the people in our neighborhood, right? And so it matters very much because it's also our nation. It's whether or not we're going to preserve liberty for one more generation.
Yeah. Nope, that's a big deal. Because like you said, I mean, there are people that we're going to be interacting with, and you want to create a better society for your children. So we don't have kids yet, but these are the people are end up going to be working under us maybe at some point, which it's a little scary. It's a little scary looking at things right now. But Kelli, for people that don't know you, where can they find you? Anything that you're doing that you want to highlight for us before we kind of transition out of this episode?
Yes, so I will just give all my plugs. So that's why I'm glad I have my stuff here. So one thing I'm always talking about is biblical citizenship. That's through Patriot Academy. That is Rick Green's organization, and it is just an online, education that you can get with family. You can do it at your church. So I'm always promoting that. I have a Facebook page, just Kelli Harris. You can come be my friend. Moms for Liberty Iredell is something that you have to answer a couple questions, and we let you into our private page. But I love Fellowship of Christian Athletes. It's exploding in our area. They need mentors. You can just pray for that. And on October 18th at Lake Norman High School, we're going to have a Fields of Faith, and we are believing it's going to be at capacity. Anybody can come, and there's going to be testimonies. The students lead this. We're going to have a key speaker. There's going to be a worship band, but it's just a place for the community to come together, and we're not afraid to proclaim Jesus' name. So it's going to be a good time there.
Cool.
Also with Truth Girls, I just promote Truth Girls because that is getting into the schools and teaching girls, you know, what it really means to be a strong, independent woman.
That's for you, Stephen, to justify.
Oh, Stephen, because we have Truth Girls, we're noticing a lack in a men's mentoring group. So we really need some men to get in and mentor some boys. So that could be something that was developed. And then I've got to plug my favorite little school board candidate here. This is Teresa Knight, running for Mooresville Graded School District. She wants to get in there and just be a good conservative voice for the people. I love to do this. She's got 2 kids in the school system, former teacher, master in business administration. She's got 24 years of professional experience leading education and youth programs. So this gal's qualified. She's a good woman. So that's it. That's it for me.
Well,
you'll see me knocking doors. I knock doors. I'll be out. You know, I'm all around this town.
No, I know we always see you around anyway, like whether it's at, you know, conferences or at events, you know, where we typically run in some of those same circles. And so you'll definitely see us around.
I want to take a minute to make sure that I thank you and tell a little bit of a story here is that my whole thing is, you know, getting people involved, right? We do everything on Facebook. We talk about stuff. And then here I see Jordan with the Brave Book story time. And that was so awesome to me because it's how simple was it, right? All you had to do was take a book, go to a coffee shop, do a flyer.
Yeah, I did have to work on my Southern drawl. But other than that, yeah, super easy.
People showed up. You did a great job, but we could be doing that at any library, at any coffee shop. You know, we've got to care enough about our values to be getting out front instead of these books, instead of the drag queens, you know.
Right. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And I think, listen, he's not in the room, but Connor's the one, honestly, to thank. Because he's like, listen, if you're going to complain about something, you better have a solution.
That's right. I believe that.
And so our goal and I appreciate you bringing it up because it gives us a little bit of a plug here to basically say, you know, I love doing the story hours. I think it's great, but it's about, again, it's a culture shift. Who should be reading to the kids? Who should be it should be the moms. Mm-hmm. Where are these moms and the young women in the community that are willing to be with these children? It shouldn't be just you, Kelly. It shouldn't be just me. Like I am a single woman with no children and I am going to the children and I love doing it. But I am saying, like, you know, moms, like, this is a great opportunity. Why don't the moms come together? You know, have one of the moms read a story. You know, some of the moms can relax and just, you know, just like these are easy things that can be done for the kids. And so I want to put that out there as well.
Yep.
But yeah, I do appreciate it.
Yeah, we just encourage people, do it in your neighborhood. You know, don't wait for somebody else to do it. Just start it. Everybody loves connection, loves community. You know, jump out of your comfort zone and change this world.
Yep. Nope. I'm all about it. That's what we've been trying to do. Kelli Harris, ladies and gentlemen. And then also, yes, we do have not Connor here today. This is Stephen. Does not
an intro at the end.
Well, that's kind of what we did. Isaiah's like kind of in like the middle of our last one because we kind of just kept going with it. But I was just gonna like let you like slide in there and just see if anyone noticed. Although you are on our website, so he is our only full white person. So he obviously gets paid less than Isaiah and Connor. But no, so Stephen is more of our, I like to call you more of my man on the street type guy because you have the common sense, it's all there, and you kind of represent a good amount of the people out there. They're just like, yeah, this is stupid. And we've always had those good conversations.
Yeah, and that's what I said to Kelly earlier. Like, I'm not and haven't been as involved in just keeping up with the day-to-day of politics and just kind of general current events. But I like hearing about the issues and then voicing my opinion on that. And for me, I'm in a position where you could just look at the news and can tell if you have 2 eyeballs and, you know, any sense of common sense that stuff doesn't add up, that there is just misinformation, lies, and you just can't trust the media or really anything you hear or see in these days. You have to do the research yourself.
Yeah, well, and I think that's an important point too, because you have a media that tells you, no, you got to listen to the experts, the ones that are very experienced. Listen, you can't trust your own instincts and common sense. You have to just trust us. And I think that's silly. I think that's bullcrap right out of the gate. So I think we're going to have a good time with you. And then we're going to have Isaiah coming back on. We're excited about that. And then we also have our guest, John, that we're going to hopefully get on at some other point. But Kelli, thank you for being here.
I had a blast. Thank you.
And if you liked this episode, make sure that you subscribe, follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and make sure that you follow us, please. I think that's it. I've gotten really good at the spiel at the end. I didn't do as well with that one, but I've gotten really good. There's the follow. You have to follow, subscribe. Yeah, follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Subscribe on YouTube, and make sure you check out our website so you don't miss any content.
I think I need to make you a jingle. You need a jingle.
I don't want to jingle.
Like, isn't it like, subscribe, follow? That's
yeah, but I don't know. You should listen to my other episodes where I'm like in
where
like
you
a
nail
super. It. Yeah, I did get back from a trip yesterday, so I feel like I'm a little bit slower than normal, but it's okay. Like I don't mind. It's all right. This is a chiller version of me.
I need it, so thank you. It's
yeah, no, you have.
I'm hyper.
It's funny because I know you're older than both of us, and you're like bouncing off the walls, and we're just like, yeah, we're just chilling here. Like we just don't, the energy is not even there, but that's kind of how we are on a normal day. All right, I can probably end this, right? Can I stop it?